Welcome to T's and Sixes Cricket Podcast. This week's guest, Stefan Fielding, first 11 captain at Mottram Cricket Club. The longest reigning captain. First 11 captain at Mottram Cricket Club.
In the club's history, right?
Yes.
So I think it was last year, this year, I overtook Urban Peel, who'd done it for 11 years.
Yeah.
So it's the 12th year this year, so it must be, obviously this is the year where I got
Was Urban Peel a bit more, was it consistent, or did he, like you, have breaks on and off, or is it just picking it up?
Well, yeah, fair to point that out, Ryan. So I think Urban Peel did it for 11 years in a row.
Right.
And we know that because of the Anorak Phil Mellor, who went through the entire club history picking, and to be fair, God love Phil Mellor, as you'll know.
Yes.
And so he did it in the 60s.
Right.
For all that time, so yeah, done it for 12 years. I mean, in fairness, Wrighty did it for quite a while. He did it for like 6 years way back, but yeah, long suffering. Long suffering, but yeah.
You've been in and out, which is not a huge problem. Obviously, you have different perspective. People come in and go, I can do it for this. Maybe you get a bit tired of it, and then that's how it kind of comes about. But obviously, quite successful in terms of what you've achieved in cricket here. But is it enough trophy laden that you're kind of disappointed in the time, or is it?
Oh, bloody hell! Let's start with a nice. You've been disappointed that you've not put any pots in the trophy.
No, not that. You have put pots on the trophy.
No, listen. I think it's a fair question. I think. I think we'll probably get into this a little bit more later on, but when you look at the side that we've had, I suppose a lot of it came together with one group of lads who came through at the same time. Yeah. Being sort of my age group, your age group that came through together. And then, a couple of lads who sort of added in, like Scotty, who came a little bit later. Berkey obviously played for a while.
Yeah.
I think if we're honest with each other, we would say we've been disappointed not to put more trophies away.
Yeah.
So we think. I mean, there was the absolute robbery that year where we were 1 point ahead going into the final game of the season. And listen, I love Steve Draper. Certain question marks about why Steve was umpiring us, given his affiliation with Dinting. Yeah. But listen, no question of any wrongdoing there. It leveled it down for us. Dinting. So that the 1 year that we probably should have put the league away. But to be honest, I feel like us as a team, over the years, we've always had that propensity to lose one too many silly games in a year.
Yeah.
And sometimes I suppose the criticism I might make is that we've just struggled to have that little bit of grit that might dig you out. Mm-hmm. It's those games that used to annoy me that Dinting would always win these games. You'd look at it and Dinting would be 80 for 8, and then John Coleman would score 40.
Yeah.
What are you on about? John can't bat. John can't bat, so I'm sure he'd disagree. But I think that, and obviously we lost a couple of Bissenden finals, T20 finals at final stage. So it was. I think it's a little bit annoying, and a few of the lads will be absolutely furious that we've started this, because I know that you might know that our T20 name is somebody changed it to Mottram Hotspur. Yeah. Because Duke of Dove, Dave Cartledge, he named us. He went, "Hey, Mottram Hotspur, always there or thereabouts." Never quite get over the line though. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. Cheers, Dave, by the way. Listen. But that said, in the round, even though we'd look at maybe a lack of actual trophies at the first 11. Yeah. I suppose the progress we've made in terms of, the general standard that we play. We've had a number of promotions now in the GMCL setup. Yeah. Listen, I think we would all reflect and say we sort of wish we'd have won more in terms of trophies, but I think we've been relatively happy with where we got to.
Good. So, as we did in last week's episode, start with how it started for you. I know a little bit about you, but I want you to tell the wider people that where it started for you. What was the moment that you felt this is the perfect game for me, really?
Tell the wider world. Talk about you for a moment. Why not? So I think started for me here at the age of 6. So our kid, Ayrton, he was sort of 9 when he started in. Yeah. the Alan Swan School of Cricket, which obviously you are a graduate of yourself. Alan Swan, by the way, being the only man on the planet who I think can multitask to the level of being able to score a junior game on a clipboard whilst rolling a fag, whilst taking a mobile phone call, whilst triggering somebody who's definitely not out, just seeing my... No, I'm joking, Alan. But I think... So it sort of started under Swanee's sort of tutelage. Yeah. Obviously, you'll know that I grew up in Cheadle Heath, so I've only ever really played here because of... So my dad was from the area, my granddad was from the area. They both obviously captained the club. But started under Swanee really, and they were different times, weren't they, as a coach? Yeah. Not sure you get away with some of those coaching techniques nowadays. The old get a tennis racket
and just whack a ball as high as you can.
Yeah, just as high as you can.
Doesn't matter who's underneath.
Yeah, he's 6 or 7. His fingers are like little crisp packets, and don't worry though, we'll hammer a corky as high as we can. And don't get me wrong, you're not going inside until you've got 3 or 4 of them. Yeah. So it was great. Really, really enjoyed it. I think, and again, this is the bit where when the lads watch this, they'll be absolutely howling because it's absolutely. I won't miss an opportunity to sort of say, I did play football as a young lad, and I was pretty good at football. But I think with football was always very serious. Yeah. And obviously, I was a goalkeeper, and I've got some real sympathy for any goalkeeper because it's not the most enjoyable position, quite pressurised and all the rest of it. So.
Got your hands ready for cricket though, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, quite right. Yeah. But I think cricket was always a release then for me, and I just love the game of cricket. I think it's. Yeah. I think everybody watching this podcast will. I don't need to tell them about the joys of the game and what it can bring to somebody's life and upbringing. But I suppose to get almost borderline sentimental for a moment. I think for me. Obviously, we lost Dad when I was 12 and Aiton was 15. Yeah. And I think for me, the whole experience of being at the club during that period where you've got a situation, obviously, where you've lost your father and some of the guys at the club were just fantastic with myself, I suppose providing a father figure in the absence of one. And your father, and that just sort of solidified to me like that's what the game's about, that's what the club's about. Yeah. And to be honest, I think sometimes clubs can get lost in terms of like what is it that you're trying to do. Yeah. And like when I reflect on my own experience, ultimately you're trying to provide a club, right, that's obviously you want to be successful on the pitch, you want to have a good social environment and whatnot, but you want to create an environment that's safe space for young kids to sort of develop, and so I think it was probably that experience in my sort of early teens which sort of just solidified it and loved it. And as you all know, it all just sort of came at 100 mile an hour after that because we were just sort of thrown in, weren't we?
Yeah, well, it was madness.
You are the first team. I was first team captain when I was 18.
Yeah,
and
18, 19.
That first year I was 18.
And that's where you're out. The air went then, though, didn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, got all that.
2 and 2 together, I think that was it.
Yeah, don't be wrong. Like, by the time I was 18, I was definitely thinning. Yeah. Chest like a 40-year-old Serbian. I'd basically just developed through puberty, like 10, 20 years too early. And yeah, we had to take clippers to it when I was 21 because. To be fair, it was getting a bit naughty, wasn't it? It was getting very Bobby Charlton-esque.
Yeah, you're very much sweeping as much as you could over.
Yeah, it was a classic sweep over. So it was. I had to do this thing where
sweep.
That was a jump. Yeah, if you wore a helmet, you didn't take it off until you got in the dressing room. Let me tell you. So yeah. But I think that whole. I mean, just to come back to it, it was like that solidifying experience where obviously it was great at the club, and then all of a sudden, and again. I don't want this podcast to be about death, but obviously, like when Neil died in 2007, and that was like the end of an era, really, and like we didn't have any senior players.
No,
so it was like I was captain. I think we had Righty. Yeah. Aiton was playing, but I was like, even there were weeks when at 18 I was the 3rd oldest in the team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, it's crazy. We were reflecting on it the other day because you were supposed to play Charlesworth yesterday.
Yes.
Right? Like big Gaz Evans at Charlesworth. There was one year where he got 18 wickets against us and like he bowled us out for 27 here and like 43 up at their place. And listen, like, that's what comes with, I suppose, throwing a load of junior kids in. But, you know, I suppose cricket's cyclical, isn't it? Like, clubs have up times and down times. And I think that was just us starting again. So, it was an early start, I suppose, in terms of senior cricket, and never really looked back, to be honest, from that.
It makes you a better cricketer, though. I think that because I always played above my age, sure, like you did as well. But I think that just made me more resilient when it came to sitting down. Now, I can think that I learned the trade 12, 13 years old. I remember my first one hit for Mottram against Newton away. Batting at 9, came in the top score, and you just think, where else would he have done that? Wouldn't have done it.
And I think, to be honest, I think it's a bit of a lesson, like a cautionary tale for some youngsters, because I sometimes see some of them. Obviously, here now we have 4 teams.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I think sometimes people can be a bit cautious about pushing themselves too early, and I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But I think my experience in cricket in the early years was just you never seemed to be playing against anybody who was your size. Like, I remember you playing in the under-17s at Doveholes. I don't know what they feed the guys up there, but they'd all been in a grow bag for about a decade, I think. And I was like, to be fair, I was only 12 playing in the 17s, but you're up there and you're just completely out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And I think for me, especially when you're young, don't get me wrong, you can overdo it. You can like destroy somebody if you just expose them too much.
Yeah, and you make it less fun for them, don't you, really?
Correct.
If you lose the fun, then there's no point in even trying to push it through.
Yeah, but I think there's a conversation to be had with younger cricketers about the value of, like, if you go into, like, you know, when you're 13 and if you get put in the second team, ignore watching the telly, like, where people are scoring 50s and 100s. Yeah. Like, if you go out and you hit a couple of boundaries, or like even if you make a double figure score, that's of much more value than turning up in your under 13s game and retiring on 40. Yeah, it's of so much more value, and I think that's what sometimes I see young lads, and they look like they're disappointed, like they've been out, like Shinai, and they've hit a couple of boundaries, and you think, well, listen, that was good, that was fine, keep going at it, don't get disheartened just because
you've not scored 50,
just because some bloke who's 40 is just taking you off pole out, do you know what I mean? So
exactly.
I think
so we'll talk through that. You've played in a couple of leagues now as captain. What's the major difference between where it started and obviously where it is now? What's in your eyes and experience of what it is? What's the difference? So
other
than professionals, obviously.
Well, this might actually be an opportunity for me to correct the record.
Yes.
In terms of, I suppose, why we left the DNC. But I think obviously we started in the DNC, and it's really interesting to see where it is now. I feel like it's gone through a little bit of a
it's a lot more competitive,
like a renaissance almost. I think when we were in it, it was good. It was a good local village league, and obviously it's great, isn't it, that everybody's so local. Yeah. So you get to know everybody, don't you? And that's great. But the cricket was competitive. We did start to see a slight fall off in how competitive it was. And maybe some of that is because we were getting stronger as a side. You reflect on that, but at the same time, there were a few seasons towards the end where really it was us, Hawk Green, and Broady Dinting. Yeah. And they were your competitive games, really. That said, as I said before, we had the propensity to lose a silly game now and again, so it's not like can't take anything for granted. No. I think for us as a club, the reason why we actually moved on from the GMCL was more around the junior setup at the time, right. We just didn't feel like there was enough cricket for the juniors. Okay. Now, obviously, the DNC have sort of taken steps to correct that, haven't they? And the junior setup's much stronger there, which is great. Now, I think obviously it's an open league now, isn't it?
An open league, you still can't have first class cricketers though. So you can't have done anything significant. Like you can't be a professional. Can't be bothered.
Right. Okay. But we've acknowledged this thing whereby like people get so I think my impression would be that in the DNC there are a lot of good cricketers. There are, and you look at it and there are some good teams in it. I think in the GMCL I would say that it's just the depth in each side is probably a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So I think on the batting side, and tell me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but it's very rare that you would play a side where you get through number 4 and 5 and you think, right, we're in. And I suppose the same on the bowling side. Just very rare you play a side who don't have 4 or 5 balls. So I think it's probably more just slightly to do with the depth of the sides. That said, I think that's probably only because obviously we've got to the GMCL Premier 2 now, so that is a good standard of cricket. Obviously the GMCL is a massive pyramid, remember, so and I suppose that is one of the beauties of it, that you go in and you just find your level. And listen, I'm not naive enough to think that the club are necessarily going to stay in the GMCL Premier 2 forever and a day. As a club, we've got a bit of a transitional period coming up in the not too distant future. We're very aware of that. But I think, listen, the key differences for me is probably a bit more depth in the sides of the GMCL 2. I don't want to come across or sound particularly derogatory to DNC, because I think it's a great league, and as I say, I think there are a lot of cricketers in the DNC who get on just fine. Yeah, absolutely fine. I think it's just, and like I said, there are still those teams at the top who do just fine in the GMCL. I think that, you touch on the pros. I was a bit what's it about it, before we went in. I used to think, God, pros, like, what's the point? What's the point having a professional? And there was one year, I think it was the first year we were in the championship. The pro on the other side scored 100 6 or 7 weeks in a row against us. Right, okay. So you're thinking, Christ. They are important, but I tell you what is probably more important. It's more important that you get like a good club pro.
Yeah, because juniors.
Yeah, juniors, but also just how they are in the dressing room.
Yeah.
So I could give you we had so Jack Snyman sub-pro for us last year, and just a phenomenal cricketer, right? But just great in the dressing room, just a brilliant, really competitive, but also really good at giving the lads guidance. And there's no question that people raise the game when they're around. Who wants to be dicking around in front of the pro? Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely that bit, and a bit of professionalism that they bring. I did say, and listen, I hope they don't mind me saying this, but when Woodley went in the GMCL, I remember having a chat with Duggan, and I said to him, look, if you're coming in, you need one, and you need a good one as well, really. Yeah. Not so much because I wasn't saying so much because I don't think your team's very good, and you need somebody to prop you up. It's just more they just win your games. I think what you're looking for, really, for honest, you're looking for them to sort of win you almost 5-6 games on their own. Yeah. Really. And again, and I know some people watching might say, oh, well, that starts to feel a bit like it's just all about the pro. Right. But the reality is,
you invested quite a lot of money into it as well, so you kind of expect them to take the lead over you and stuff like that, don't you? They are on a pedestal to start with, so why would they not be expected to do it?
I agreed, and look, I'm somebody who so some clubs get a little bit they get a little bit cloak and dagger about it. I'm really straightforward about it. We as a club have made the decision that we're going to invest in a club professional, and I'm not shy about the fact that we spend a lot of money on it. Yeah. We do. But for a multitude of reasons, they're great with the kids, and that you can't argue with that. Obviously, last year we had a sub-professional 22 weeks of the year because Stefansville was playing for Zimbabwe. Yeah. So that wasn't ideal, really, because obviously the kids got no coaching from the pro. But I'm really clear about it. If you're going to do it properly. Yeah. I think that one of the holes that some clubs get down is they almost feel like, well, this is the done thing, and they almost feel obligated to just have a pro. And then you sort of see some pretty big money getting spent on lads who aren't great. So yeah, listen, I think if you're going to do it properly. I suppose the one bit that we found now with the GMCL is it's a real transition from what you would describe as good amateur cricket with a paid professional to what is effectively semi-professional cricket. You know, I'm not. There are some weeks where you turn up and they've got like 7 or 8 on the payroll. And you know, and obviously, I don't think there's any danger of this. Sorry, lads, to sound negative. But in the event that we got into the GMCL Premier 1, you know, there are some teams in there that pay 11 man. Yeah. So, and to be honest, let's be honest, we don't want that for our club. I don't think that we want to go down that road. No. But so it's been a great ride to get where we are. But yeah, listen, I appreciate that we've sort of like gone around the houses a bit there. I think that the general differences are that it's probably a little bit more professional in terms of how teams approach it, how teams go about it. Yeah. I suppose the funding setup of some of these, you go to some of these clubs, where they're enormous clubhouses, like massive clubs basically. But that at the same time, what you do lose, which I always loved about the DNC, was that, well, don't get me wrong, we've got to know certain teams better than others, but that sense of community. Yeah. Like there are some lads that I played against in the DNC where I'll have played against them, 20 times, I'd have thought, over the years. And you get to know them, don't you? And it's great time. That isn't quite the same in the GMCL. It's a little bit more.
We're here to win.
It's a bit more, it's business-like, really. I'll tell you what, I had a really interesting conversation though with Dave Cartledge, the Duke of Dove. Yeah. Right stuff. I love the guy, and he was saying that like in the DNC sometimes that familiarity can actually create its problems on the pitch. Yeah. Because people really go at each other. Yeah. So that's one thing I would say about the GMC actually. I remember the days of playing against 90. Yeah. Or playing against like Pete Richards and Hawk Green and really going at them and getting stuck in. And I don't know, it doesn't really happen so much. Yeah. It's all.
You don't know anything, but you haven't got the personal level, is that what you
Yeah, I think so. I think it's almost a bit more sterile. I mean, in the years we've played in it, it was last year at Haywood, Butterworth who were bowling at me, the pro for Haywood. I got out, and as I was walking off, he went, God almighty, he's the worst number 3 I've ever seen in my life. I was like,
cheers, man.
Thanks. I didn't bat well that day, to be fair. But other than that, you don't really get any. There's not that same fire. I don't think that you do get in the DNC. But again, some might think that's a good thing. Some might think it's a bad thing. I used to love it though. I used to love getting into a good scrap with
I love it.
Yeah, I can't argue with it, can you?
Yeah. I don't mind it until it gets too. There's a line, isn't there?
Yeah. Of course there is. Yeah.
It just becomes a personal attack then. It's just basically schoolyard bullying then.
Yeah.
I think it's good fun, and then you can push it by like I know I'm overweight. You don't have to call me a fat. So I understand that I am fat.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell me.
Don't need the assembly. Don't need to.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're right. And listen, God, this is the time maybe to get it in, but like the famous story of Hawk Green that day when, and I'll name him, no problem naming him. Yeah. I think it's a nasty piece of work. Mike Hudson from Hawk Green, and he was just abusing Oleandro. Just abusing him. Anyway, I just called him a bully for 2 overs, and then he headbutted me. Great. Yeah. love the ruckus. Love the ruckus.
Yeah, that's where we're going. I think.
But that's what you don't want. Yeah. Of course, you don't want that. But so I would say that sometimes it can be a little bit sterile. Yeah. And as much as I love the pros, it is a chastening experience when one of them gets in. Yeah. When one of them gets in, and obviously when we playing here on a flat one.
On a hot day, and you just watch it.
Just like once they get past 30 and 40, you just know that unless they do something outrageously stupid,
well, you'd have to put the shoe on the other foot with that as well. Right? That day where Snyman hit 150 in no time. I bet.
It's lovely.
I bet the bowlers just thought, "What? Don't even pass me the ball again." Like.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting? Listen, I maybe this is the exception that proves the rule, but one of their lads dropped him on 66, and then he got the last 85. in about 3 minutes. He's just like, I really felt for this lad. But yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, when they get going, it is impressive to watch. But I think the one thing I would say, I have learned that I used to think it was like people paying to basically play and watch a pro, and they love watching them. Don't get me wrong. When you're in a big run chase and he fills his boots, it's great. Yeah. But you can still get him out. It's not like, and that's the beauty of the game, right? The beauty of cricket is like he was playing with like MI Cape Town in the winter, and like it was bizarre when we went to watch Tafadzwa play for Zimbabwe against England at Trent Bridge. Yeah. And like he's going out to face England. Yeah. And I was just like sat there reflecting on the fact that, you know, like
I've been at the event with him.
Well, we had a big stand together against Haywood at their place one year. But I also reflect on the fact that, like, you know, some 60 mile an hour dobber from Westleigh's like knocked his off pole out before. It's like, you know, that's the peculiarity of cricket, I guess, and you can get him. So
yeah, that's good. Right, so we'll just go back in time a bit. You've only ever played for one other club.
Yes.
Why and how did it kind of come about?
Oh God, we get into the nitty gritty now. So we talked before that I've done 3 spells as captain. Yeah. And the first time I was captain was 18. Yeah. And you'll remember that first season. That first season went really well. Yeah. Came 4th. And that second year that I did it, I went to uni. You know,
things happen.
You distractions, shall we say? And listen, on reflection, second year didn't go so well. And listen, with the benefit of hindsight and being a slightly older man, I would hold my hands up and say it didn't go so well. But obviously there was that the way it went down wasn't right in my mind in terms of it sort of I thought that Richard should have been way more open. I don't think you should be getting to an AGM basically to be completely blindsided, not really no opportunity to basically make sure that people were there to support you in terms of a vote. I mean, the club rules were changed subsequently, so I think there was an acknowledgement from the club that it wasn't right. That said, look, I mean, looking back, I was a young man at the time, and even though I might have had a valid grievance, I'm not sure that. It's still a bit spit your dummy out to go and play somewhere else. Let's have it right. Now, interestingly, when I reflect on it, I regret leaving the club. Yeah. Right. But I don't regret the year out at New Mills for a moment. Not a moment. And interestingly, I sort of obviously we had a great year there. We won won Div 2. We won the Bissenden, beat 4 First Division sides to win the Bissenden, and we had a really, really good team. And I suppose I also regret not having a second year there with them, just to see how we'd have got on in Division 1. But then again, at the same time, I don't regret coming back. So I have really mixed emotions about it. Yeah. I mean, once Righty was sort of captain here, I was never going to stay anywhere else. I mean, my old man used to say to me that if you start somewhere, you give somebody a season. You make that commitment for the season. Yeah. But once Righty was captain here, I was always going to come back and play here. Now, obviously, that year I was at New Mills, I went there because I knew Darren Coverley sort of reasonably well. Good side, and I knew they had good players. And maybe I was a bit guilty of. I knew they were a decent side, and I knew that adding me to it, they would be a very good side, I guess.
You had one of your better years as a batsman.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it should be clear that that sounded a bit self-indulgent, that, didn't it? I mean, it'd be a very good side. But I suppose at that stage, it wasn't unusual for me to score 700, 800, 900 runs a year. So, and I suppose going there, Alistair Stevens is there. I remember even just being in the nets with him, made me a better player. Yeah. Scuttle and Sons Estate Agency. If you want a house in Oldham, by the way, Alistair Stevens is your man. But he I suppose just being in and around him, because he's one hell of a cricketer, you know.
Yeah.
He is like, he could swing a brick, couldn't he, with the ball and just batting wise.
Yeah.
He's great. Obviously playing with Stuart Whitchurch, Tosh.
Yeah.
You know, I actually played golf with him and Dave Ward the other week, and we were sort of reminiscing and whatnot. But I mean, he's one of the funniest men you'll ever meet. The guy. We just had I had an unbelievable time there playing cricket. Really enjoyed it, and like I said, we had a great year. Man of the match in the Bissenden Cup final, if I don't mind saying so myself. And look, I think it would have been interesting to see how we'd have gone the next year, to be fair, because that team had Jonathan Duckworth, obviously Stuart was still playing, he was a good cricketer, myself, Malkstrong, Chinny.
Yeah, Chinny.
By the way, a big shout out for Chinny, actually. I've got a lot of time for him as a person, but as a cricketer, I think he's a little bit underrated by somebody. He's a fantastic spin bowler, great batsman. He's got great in the field, but he's got like proper heart. He's a proper fighter. He's a proper cricketer.
He's back playing now a little bit.
He is, yeah. I saw he's back playing. And good, yeah. I mean, he's a great lad, great cricketer. Yeah. Ashley Burgess was playing, and he was still swinging it around corners. Dave Ward,
Stevens.
So Stevens played in the Bissenden a couple of times, but he was playing second team mostly.
Josh though, would you know? Josh?
No, Josh didn't play much was that year. There was a lad called Jordan Henderson, the love muscle. I'll leave you to work out why. Impressive stuff actually. But he, I suppose a good story about Alistair actually. We were short one week and we were playing Hollingworth at home in the first team, so he came up and I batted at 3 and Alistair was opening. And I don't know if you know Alistair that well, but get yourself in. It's not a proper one if it's not a red one. And he's batting right, and let's just bear in mind that at the time this guy's in his 50s.
Yeah.
And he sort of, I went out to bat with him and he's sort of stroking it around, and he'd do the famous Alistair Stevens thing of, you know, little nice stroke, dot, 4, dot, 1. I like the strike. And then he got on the strike, but he was on about 40. He came down the pitch to me and just said, got the measure of him. He's going to go this over. And he just sashayed down the pitch and just swatted him over mid-wicket for 6. Came down and went, don't bowl it there again, son. And he's done it again and swatted him again for 6. I was looking at it going, this guy's in his mid-50s. He's still an unreal cricketer even then. Just great. I mean, the most nervous watcher of a game of cricket I've ever seen in my life. When we played in the semi-final at Newton, and Alistair Stevens can't watch a game of cricket.
Okay. Right.
So we were like 100 for 5, chasing about 160, and somebody turned up to the ground and went, I thought you'd finished. And somebody went, why? I said, just seen Alistair Stevens in KFC and Hyde. We were playing at Newton. He'd gone for a drive. Couldn't come watch the game. But look, absolutely loved it. But I was always going to come back and play here, and as quickly as possible, because I think it's a really important time for our club actually. As you know, that in fairness, I think that might have been the making actually, because again, God, this is going to sound so self-indulgent, but even at that stage already, I think that before I left the club, there was a real, if I don't get any, we're knackered. And I think that the lads had to sort of adjust to that while that year I wasn't here. So it was interesting that when I came back, we seemed to have a few more strings to our bow. And obviously we got promoted that first year I came back. And then I suppose like the rest is history for us really. But I mean, it's an interesting time to sit down and do this and be sort of reflective, because there's a few of us who are coming towards the back end of our time playing now. So you're sort of looking down the club really to sort of say, right, well,
who's going to come?
Who's the next group of young lads? I mean, it was nice to see Patrick Hannon made his second team debut yesterday. He's a very good young lad. Yeah. And obviously like William, so my Ayrton's lad. Yeah. And there's a few of them there. I suppose that the bridge the gap we might have to bridge is when you're looking at some of these lads, they're very much 14, 13, 12. Yeah. So I think there's, you're 5 years down the line before you start to see them
coming through,
really contribute at senior level. And sadly, that takes me into my early 40s. So, but we won't talk about it.
So we come back to here, and I'm going to ask you quite a question, can't I say, emotional question.
Quite a question.
What is it that makes you want to play out there for this club?
Yeah.
Or how does it feel when you to
put the shirt on?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to think, this is a fairly uncontroversial statement, I think it's one of the best grounds to play on.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of people who come here and they say, it must be a pleasure to play here. And it is. It's a pleasure to play every other week. The square now is better than it ever was. The outfield's flat as a pancake and rapid. So as a bowler, as a batsman, happy days. Yeah. Bit of a bowler's boneyard nowadays, if I'm honest. Just generally playing here is great. For me, we talked before, didn't we, about, I suppose, some of the support that I was given as a young lad. Some of the characters that we've had here, you're thinking of the old guard here, like your Mellors, your Marzies, those types of people that have, been associated with the club. You sort of want to do it for them as well as yourself.
Yeah.
I've got great pride in the place, and I've loved playing there. I do. I don't want to sound too corny here, but I do take it really seriously. I think any club you play for, you should always be proud, and you should take pride in the shirt you put on, right? And even Snyman last year. It's unusual, that you'd have somebody like that just sub-pro for somebody and he would hold it for us. He wouldn't book to play anywhere else. He wanted to play here. And what did he say to me? Listen, Steph, you have a great club, great club. And he acknowledged the sort of is there a family feel to it at times? Yeah. There is, but I think he could feel the connection between sort of the old guard and everything that goes with it. So, and he actually said to a few of the lads, listen, every time you pull the shirt on, you should pull it on with a bit of pride. Listen, it means a great deal to me. Just the cricket club generally means a great deal to me. And obviously that's playing, but I suppose it's also thinking about the effect and the impact that we have on other young people who come and play here as juniors. Let's call a spade here. There's sort of Mottram and Hattersley, and Hattersley's, it's an area with its own sort of socio-economic challenges. But I look at the positive impact that the cricket club's had on juniors' lives. You've got to look at El Presidente, Liam Wright.
Stones throw away
down there. And really, again, I made the comment earlier, but if we ask ourselves, what are we doing here? What's the point of all this? That has to be the answer, doesn't it? The answer has to be, are we making a positive impact on young people? And for me, I think that's what makes the club very special insofar as I could point to a number of people and I could point to them all and say the club's had a positive impact, not just on their cricket life, but on their life. Yeah. And I think, particularly myself, God, when I was, you may well remember me at this age, when I was 10 or 11, I was a right cocky shit. You might not. You might be a bit
Matthew had only just come around about then, so I started here at 8.
Yeah.
So you'd have been around you, but probably not blissfully unaware.
Yeah, I think. Well, I might be doing myself a disservice. I certainly had a cocky edge though. When I was, precocious might be a term that you would use, but it's interesting. Obviously, I had that experience with Dad, but then I was in the first team dressing room at 13, 14. I'll tell you something, you can't be a cocky shit in a dressing room like that. And that experience alone, sort of moulded me into somebody who's just not that much of a cocky shit, if you know what I mean. So it brought you down a peg or two to a certain extent. And absolutely crucial. So, yeah, look, I love the club. I love everything it stands for, and I love, I suppose, the good it does. I would have loved, of course, over the years, to have put a few more trophies away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll blame it.
So, like you're saying, you want to be that influence for the younger generation. Who was that influence for you? If you could, it might, I'm going specifically towards one person, really. I want you to, who kind of went, that's the guy that really made me love cricket. I understand that your dad might have pushed you that watching your dad. Or...
Yeah, no, good question. Listen, Mars is massive, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's massive for the club. Do you know what I was thinking about? You know, like nowadays you have like bowling restrictions for youngsters. I'm sad to say that I started playing in an era before bowling restrictions. And I remember the first year I played, I think it was 13, I played with the second team. Second game I'd ever played, and we played up at Whaley Bridge, and Marzy's thrown me the ball, right? So I bowled like a few overs, and this is going all right, this is going well. Chris Bowen's wicket keeping, absolutely love this, right? Great ground, by the way, the old Whaley Bridge ground.
Oh yeah,
the old one was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, the new one's nice, but the old one was amazing. So I bowled 3 overs. Yeah, let's just do some more. 7, 8, 9. And before I knew it, I'd bowled a 19 over spell from one end. It was 13. They were the days. And then I love the fact that he then took me off. Somebody else bowled 2, and they brought me back for the last one. So I bowled 20 overs in a day from one end. And yeah, I'm not sure that'd go down well with the ECB nowadays. But Marzi was massive in terms of, I suppose, the introduction to cricket, some of the disciplines. I suppose some of those things, and you'll know this of him, but that you play the game in the right way, the spirit of cricket. And then I think first 11, Paul Marshall, sadly no longer with us, was the captain when I first started playing. I remember Neil Fazakli rang my mum and said, "Aya, we've got a problem. Andy Woolley's left the club. We've not got a wicketkeeper. Your Stefan plays in goal, doesn't he? So we're going to get into wicketkeeper all year." Fantastic, because those two go together perfectly. I mean, listen, there are common things, but it's the way that he basically gave me some wicket-keeping gloves, like run child.
Yeah.
But I think, when I think that I've been batting with my thing, Neil probably taught me.
Well, that was the funny thing about that story, because he was a wicket-keeper.
Yeah, he was, yeah. It was just like, here's some gloves. You listen, you'll know what you're doing, won't you? You play football, you'll be right. But I talk about it a lot. I've given this story a load of times here as a club, but for the purpose of the podcast, I remember going out to bat with him. Marzi had churned out a Marzi special. We were playing Charlesworth at home, flat as a pancake, and we'd managed to get ourselves like 100 for 5. It's just like nowhere near. And I'd gone out at number 7, and I tried to play like you, I think, actually, and tried to hit it to broad bottom, tried to yee-haw a couple. And he came down the pitch and just said, "Right, son, how about we actually put the bat on the ball before we start doing that?" He just basically said, "Block it for a bit." And then so proceeded. I mean, Neil was a funny cricketer anyway, he hit the ball in funny areas. But then me and him put on, it must have been the best part of 120 for that wicket. I had 27 of them, 27 not out. Culminated with me hitting a 6 over the bungalow. I did do a Nixon over the bungalow. Good lad.
Yeah.
But they were the most important 27 runs I'd ever scored, I think. Because I suppose just in that afternoon, you sort of learn.
Yeah.
And listen, you'll never be able to teach somebody like you this. You'll never be able to teach you this. Just have a look, shall we, before we start teeing off. But I suppose it taught me about building innings, and so I think Neil really, and obviously, can you believe it's 20 years next year since Neil passed away, and obviously very very sadly missed, because again he was one hell of a cricketer. And it's interesting, isn't it? You know, when we think about like good cricketers, you have like really good technical cricketers, right? But I think every team needs like 1 or 2 like him.
Random,
with a proper fight and a bit, like the heart of the lion type thing. I think every team needs that. So I think Fazza had that, but he also had sort of like the quirky elements to his game. everybody always tells me that Jared Massey's very much like that, didn't he? Like just very quirky and just because I can never understand how Jared Massey got loads of wickets.
Yeah,
he did.
He did.
He once broke my box, you know. He was rapid, 85 mile an hour. He once shattered my box and ended up having to like pull shards of plastic out of my testicles. Yeah, lovely. So yeah, Jared, if you're watching, thanks for that, mate. Yeah, lovely.
So last few bits with you. You mentioned it before. Prem 2's on the horizon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, had a false start yesterday. What's the expectation from you and the group?
Yeah, well, so as with any whenever you get promoted, there's always that uncertainty because you don't. In some respects, there's some clubs you've never played against. Now, it's an interesting division because of Flowery's shortcomings, because they got double relegated from the GMCL Prem 1 because of their junior setup. That is one thing, by the way, about the GMCL. They don't mess around.
Yeah.
If they give the clubs a warning and they don't do it, see you later.
Yeah.
But 4 clubs came up in a division of 12, so there's us, Greenfield, Woodhouses and Haywood. Yeah. We've played Stand, we've played Astley and Tildesley, so we sort of know some of them, and I think we're competitive with some of those. So I mean, for me, I don't want to sound negative when I say this. If we stay up, that would be a good season. But then really, I suppose it's the immediate goal is to stay up, but at the same time, as a club, we have to have a conversation about, okay, well, if we stay up, that's great, but I think we're at a point now where I get the impression that we don't really want to be making any sort of further investment, and ultimately, that's what it's going to take. Because I think we discussed before, maybe off air, that if you try and get players in now that are good, they want money. So basically, what we're saying now is like to get somebody in who's going to make a real impact in the GMCL Prem 2, you're going to have to pay them. So the club now are at a point where I think we're getting towards as far as you can go without throwing a shed load of cash at it. Yeah. And that is a model that the club could go down. The club could go down that model. But whether we want to or not is another matter, because it completely changes the fabric of your club. So for me, if we were to stay up, that would be an unbelievable achievement. I should say that, I mean, I always think that every club needs an Everest. They need what's your next Everest? What's the next thing to achieve? So the next thing for us to achieve, I mean, we actually got past the ultimate Everest in my mind, which was to get past Glossop. Yeah. And you know, this isn't a slight on Glossop Cricket Club. It's almost a compliment to them insofar as they'd long been the biggest club in the area. Obviously, you got Hyde and the Cheshire setup, but they were the premier club in this area. So obviously, to play them last year, to beat them, and then to go past them, I think we can be very proud of that. Yeah, 100%. But I think now we're getting towards the zenith of our journey. Getting towards that. Unless I'm completely wrong and people turn around to me and say, no, it's all right. We want to get a load of sponsors and we want to I don't see that happening for us. So I think stay up. Let's see how we get on, and then we can sort of reassess from there. One of the sort of we talked before, didn't we, about the fact that we've maybe not put as many trophies away as we wanted to. I think one of the reasons for that is obviously we've sometimes not been able to dig ourselves out. But it's interesting, if you look at our results last year, we very, very rarely got into a close game. Right. We either battered somebody or got battered. So so for this year, the thing that gives me some sort of hope is, and some hope that we can be competitive, is that when we play well, we're a match for anybody. Yeah. It's just the fact that when we don't play well, we get battered. Yeah. I think, I was thinking about it, I think last year we were in 2 close games all year. Other than that, we battered somebody or got battered. So I think, listen, if we can stay up,
bit more consistency.
Brilliant. Yeah, if we can. I mean, we've got so this year. It was a shame we had Nominal Hack lined up to pro. I mean, he's got 6,000 test runs. So, and then, what a debacle. The UK visa system. So if anybody at the Home Office is listening, by the way, can we sort the visa system out? So he was going to come, all signed, ready to come, and then but one of his visa requirements is that he has a level 2 coaching qualification. Okay. And I'll just be clear with you, Ryan, about that. A level 2 qualification, that's the one that, like when one of the dads, one of the dads of 11-year-old kid outside wants to get involved. Yeah. So they go to Wilmslow, Wilmslow High School. Do you remember? It's so bad, is it? And you do four Saturdays at Wilmslow High School. So what they were saying is for him to have a visa, he had to do that course.
Oh my God.
Right.
Nothing to do with the international cricket.
Talk me through it for a minute. Right, so this guy's got 6,000 test runs in the top 100 test match runs.
Working probably with the best coaches around.
Yeah, imagine you were running that coaching course, and you're there, and you're going around there. So what's your name? Well, I'm Bob. I'm from Alderley Edge, and my lad's just got into cricket. And who are you? Well, I'm Nominal Hack. Got 6,000 test runs. What are we talking about? How is that a visa requirement? Anyway, because he needed to do it, we would have had to put him on a coaching course. Long story short, that clashed with him playing for Bangladesh. So we've got and credit to Righty for sorting this out. Deshan Diaz, who's a Sri Lankan lad. So he comes over on Monday, Tuesday. So he's pro-in. We've got, and again, it's the same group of lads. Ishmael returns, great bowler. Sakib's bowling. So listen, we've got the nuts and bolts of a team that should be competitive. But if we can stay up, and that I never like saying that because it sounds defeatist, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, if we can just scrape up. But I mean, ultimately, if we can just stabilise ourselves in that division, and then we can have a look at what we want to do from that.
Yeah. So would you kind of prioritise any of the cup competitions? Or does that just get too intense by the latter stages of that?
Well, interestingly, when we were in the DNC, I always felt like we had the type of team that should be putting Bissons away because we had 5 good bowlers. And that's the key, isn't it? You've got to have 5 bowlers. And similarly, the GMCL, like the cup competition, 5 bowlers, 9 each. Annoyingly, playing coloured kits and pink balls, which I must say I don't like that in a cup competition. Our record has been woeful in that cup competition since we've gone in. I think we won 1 game in the cup at Wythenshawe. Like, what? We've just not done very well in it. The slight issue we've got this year, and again, this is just being completely open and realistic. And again, I don't want this to come across defeated because cricket's one of those games in a cup competition. Anybody can win on the day. So we've got DSL in a fortnight's time. We'll see how we get on. The T20 is one that again we've sort of knocked on the door of since we've been in the GMCL. And we did win it in the DNC, but we've always been a good T20 side. But because we're now in GMCL Prem 2. The competition is with GMCL Prem 1. So if you look at our group is Denham West, DSL, Flowerfield.
Right.
So fairly tough going. So listen, we'll see. We'll give it our best shot, of course. And again, T20 is one of those on any given day. Anything can happen. So I think the T20 actually is probably the one which because. I mean, just by virtue of the format, right?
Yeah.
It would be nice actually to put in, but I don't know how other clubs get on. But one thing that we've always struggled with, or we certainly have in recently, is just getting a side out on a Sunday because it's sort of a bit disheartening. We've seen some of the other clubs around there have really good runs in the Village Cup, and I've long thought that we should have a go at it. But you sort of think to yourself, what's the point if you're going to get through the first couple of rounds? And then draw Edgerton or somebody and have 3 players. So we've really struggled wise to get a side out.
We had that when I was captain at Dinton. Was it my last year as captain? We went on a fantastic run in the Derbyshire group.
Yeah.
We got to the regional final against South Winfield, who had beat us the year before. So we kind of knew where we needed to be, and then I had no seam bowlers available.
Yes.
So I had 5 spinners and 1 part-time seamer, and it was flat as a pancake.
Yeah.
And we just got mugged out of it. And then me and Nighty went to open the batting, and he was like, "We need to keep this new ball as long as possible." And some guy started bouncing me, so I was like, "Bring it on, pal." Strange stuff went like that. Anyway, he went, "So much for keeping the new ball in the straight over the rail," and Jack lost it. I was like, one of them.
But yeah, I think so. But yeah, it'd be nice to put a run together. We'll see how we go. Obviously, we've got Devon St Lawrence in a couple of weeks, and it's at their place.
Oh right, okay.
On a Sunday.
Oh, lovely.
On a bank holiday.
Could
be tasty.
Yes.
So we'll see.
So a bit of a new thing, we kind of discussed it was a good idea. We're going to play 5-a-side now.
5-a-side, lovely.
So we're going to have opening batsman, all-rounder, wicket keeper, spin bowler, and a seamer.
And this is played with or against?
Yes, you can do whatever you...
Right, well, again, there'd be some honourable mentions opening the batting, but I'd have to go with Andrew Metcalf. Tough gig, open the batting. I mean, I've always struggled with it. I've had some success, but obviously opening up's tough. And I just think consistently he's had some good spells, some bad spells. There was a spell the other year where he had something ridiculous, like it was either 11 or 12 50+ scores in a row.
Wow.
And he's scored some big hundreds for us. I'd have to go with Andrew. I couldn't say anything other than Andrew. So going with Andrew.
Is your opening batsman?
Opening bat. Top order batsman. I think, and again, we're probably going to go more to like the D&C days here, because I think in order to do it, you've got to look at some longevity, right?
Yeah.
And again, let's leave the pros out of it. So I think top order batsman. Scuttle's he's an all-rounder, really.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick him though, because I don't play with him that much. I'd say top order batsman. I mean Martin's pretty destructive, and he was very, very good on his day.
Yeah.
So probably 90. Wicket keeper.
Wicket keeper, yeah.
So stumper. Jonesy might get in at Dovell's because he's a good bat as well. And you know what? For and listen, Jonesy, this is not good, but for a bigger lad, not as big as me and you, like, but he's tall enough, and he gets down and he moves pretty well.
Yeah.
And obviously as a batter, good bat. Just want to make sure. I mean Walshy at Brodie, good stump. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I like Aaron. I shouldn't come into it, should I? I like Aaron.
Dom told me a funny thing about it. He's only just won the wicket keeping award for the league last year. That's the first time he's ever won it.
Is that right?
That's right.
I wouldn't have said that.
No, it's not. I was surprised when Dom said it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could be a right nerd and go back to like Shorey, who used to play, obviously like way back when, was a frightening wicket keeper. But I suppose my sort of era, so to speak, probably go with Walshy.
Yeah.
Go with Walshy. Did we do? Oh, we're going to be 6-a-side here, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to go 6-a-side, so you can do your all round.
Yeah, we've changed it. Yeah, it's fine. So, there'd be 3 in. So Alistair Stevens, swinger brick, really, really good at batting, awesome at batting. Pete Richards. But then,
ferocious ball, Pete, didn't he?
Yeah, the thing is, his record against us was really good as well, and annoyingly, there were a few real crunch games where I felt like we were on top, and he just came off in a big way, and he got on with it as well, didn't he? Like that's the thing.
He did.
But Oliver Andrew would never forgive me if I picked Pete over him
You're never on the same time zone, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but that said, you know, and Ollie, if you're watching, Danny Brightmore suggesting that, you know, whether you got in as an all-rounder or not, he will not like that. Yeah, let's go Oliver. Spinner. God, spin bowling. Who are you putting in here, Nico, spinning wise, D&C?
Well, your club president, arguably in the D&C.
Righty, yeah. Righty were great.
Guarantee you 40 to 50 wickets a year.
Yeah, we're going right. Listen, let's have it right. Listen, it is a man, by the way. Yeah. And just quick shout out for Righty, actually, before we get to the end of this. There's a man who needs some real credit, because there aren't many blokes who'd stick around playing cricket as long as he had done after the accident. He had, you know, 750 kilos of steel on his toe, which obviously didn't survive. No.
That was a weird day when he came. When he had his flip flop with the weight on it. But like for a while he was doing that thing. I remember him when he started playing back from his injury. Oh God, I love Wright. He was playing with that insole with a fake big toe and for balance and everything. Listen, Wright would have no problem with me saying he would never the player after it. But I mean, he would be. So just hard your best foot.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Wrighty. Let's bang Wrighty in. I mean, we're going Mottram centric here, and I'm happy with it.
You've got enough to choose from.
Yeah, I think. Listen, around the league again, we talked about a few of them, like John Coleman, Critchlow. There's loads I could pick from, but I'd have to toss it up between Scotty and Burke. Yeah, I'd take Scotty. I think Scotty's been awesome for us, to be honest. Second team captain now. Yeah. And again, you know, a real. This is going to sound really, really corny, but I'm actually really proud of him actually, because he got the yips.
Yeah.
Certified yips, I reckon, a few years ago. We played with a slightly different ball, just like he couldn't control it. And he's completely come through that, and he's bowling really well again. And to be honest with you, one of those where, you know, if he weren't second team captain, you'd probably be nudging him in the first team. So, and look, there were times when Mike was pretty unplayable, really. If I was on a pitch with any kind of help, so if there's anything to extract out of it, I'd pick Mike Scott to bowl. Especially when those Scott zones you get into. Yeah, just a great bowler, great competitor for us, and you're a great lad. So yeah, I think that rounds it up.
So round it up, you've got Metty to open the batting. Knighty's.
Yeah,
the curveball has come into the.
Knighty's snuck in. He's snuck in, hasn't he?
Can open the batting as well with Metty. So
yeah.
Then we've got your all-rounder being Ollie Andrew.
Yeah.
Wicket keeper as.
We went for did we decide in there?
Aaron Walsh.
Aaron Walsh.
And then you've got your
spinners Righty
and
Scotty. Yeah.
Good.
We're beating anybody with that. Yeah, I like it.
We'll have to compare as the podcast goes along and see where we're going to fit. We'll pass it back and forth, and then hopefully if it kind of expands, we'll remember where we started. So we'll come back and see how things have moved on in
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think you were telling me that Kyle Hogg might be on this thing, so I would suspect his might be still but you know, I'm still backing our lads.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for your time, Steph.
No worries, pleasure.
Love to sweat.